coming into the spiritual path, but my staying onto the spiritual path has been an absolute miracle. In fact, I would say it's been more of a miracle that I've stayed on it than that I came onto it in the first place, because there's been so many times when, like a vehicle with a wheel out of alignment, I've veered off only to have someone constantly put me back onto the right path again. One of the first instances was my teacher used to ring me up constantly. And I had back in those days the notion, right, this was an amazing course, but now I've done the course. Tick, let's look for another course. I was still spiritual shopping, though I wouldn't have acknowledged that to anyone if anyone had leveled that possibility to me at the time. But that was exactly what I was doing, shopping for the next experience. So I dutifully did my 40 days of Kriya and then stopped, even though it had been deeply, deeply transformational. And you know something else interesting? At the time, I'd not only done an Art of Living course, I'd also acted in a play. And part of my mind was like, well, you know, I'm feeling amazing, that's true, but maybe the amazingness is because of the play that I'm in, because I'm creatively expressing myself. And I've got lots of people come to my show and I'm doing what I love. That must be it, because it can't simply be through a breathing technique, right? Well, years later, when I dropped the breathing technique and I continued the acting in shows and I wasn't experiencing the same levels of bliss and freedom anymore, I thought, yeah, maybe it wasn't acting that was the variable causing this. Went back to the breathing. There we go. That's how much it took. So the first act of someone steering me back onto the path was my teacher, who, after I'd stopped doing the technique, she used to email me and she would ring me and she would encourage me to come to events, even though I was giving her no encouragement for her follow-ups at all. And in fact, it got to a point where when I found myself in a relationship with a woman who really wasn't interested, I'd taken her to the course, but she didn't want to pursue it and didn't really encourage me to pursue it, and I certainly didn't encourage myself, to the point that she said, look, I'm sick of this person phoning us up. Why don't we get the phone with cooler display on it? This is in 2001, where that was kind of a new thing back then. And so we did. And so every time that number came up, we would ignore it. And then our email changed, so that the old email she sent, and we didn't let her know. So the emails no longer reached us, and we had a fail-proof mechanism where she could never contact us by phone either. Perfect! Mission accomplished. No longer can I be bothered by this person who wants me to be the best version of myself and wants to remind me of the incredible joy that I experienced that I've now shut out. Wonderful. And then one day a flood happens, in true biblical fashion. I had a little water purifier under my sink, which had a little gasket on it. That little gasket I noticed one day was missing, but the pipe was still there and it's still being held in by another adjoining pipe, and I thought, no big deal. Sure enough, 6 months later, it was a big deal, because over that 6 months, that little bit of pressure between the two pipes had been such that lack of the gasket had meant that that little pipe had just come loose. And just a gentle flow of maybe a litre per minute, no more, had come from the purifier onto the floor at some stage during the night for the entire night, for maybe 5 hours. So we had now 300 litres of water all through the house. And I wake up and I get out of bed and I go squelch. And it feels like I'm in a wetlands. I put the other foot down. That can't be right. Squelch. I walk through the house. Squelch, squelch, squelch. I walk into the kitchen. Oh my goodness! And I see what's occurring. I hurriedly turn off the water purifier as though that's going to stop the carnage. And then I walk in through the house and survey the damage. All the carpet in the house is soaked. And in that state of chaos, the phone rings. And my partner and I are in another room, and because of that, my 7-year-old daughter, Sophie, comes in and answers the phone and says, "Here, Dad, there's a phone call for you." My partner's looking at the number saying, and I was like, oh, I take the call. Of course, by that stage, Sophie's already answered and said we're there, and I can't think of an excuse, and said, hi, how's it going? Oh, Daniel, I've been meaning to get in touch with you. It's been a struggle and I can't get in touch with your emails either. Oh, yes, we've changed our email. My partner's going, she said, yeah, well, can I have your new email? And I said, oh, yeah, sure. It's da-da-da-da-da-da. And my partner's going, but I couldn't think of an excuse and I didn't want to lie to her because ultimately I was very grateful to this person for bringing this incredible knowledge to me. And that little connecting event, that confluence of the flood and Sophie taking that call was enough that by a little thread I was hanging, that connection to my teacher was re-established. And a week later, because of that event, the emails start coming back again. Now, my partner and I split up not long after that. And the emails keep coming. And one of the emails said, hey, there's this woman in Australia who's from Zimbabwe, and she needs to come out of Australia every 3 months because she's on a temporary visa. So she's coming to New Zealand. She just needs a place to stay for a couple of days. Is there anyone who can billet her? And I said, yeah, sure. Why not? And so she stayed in my apartment, and turned out that she was on the path to becoming an art of living teacher. And amazing woman. And she said, well, look, what's the local art of living community here in New Zealand? I'm like, oh, I don't really know. And she said, well, do you go? Well, what about Korea? Where is it? Oh, well, I'll check it up on the website. And she's like, don't you go? And I was like, oh, no, well, I did the course and it was good. And I got the message from my teacher. And I said, yeah, we've got a spare place here. It just felt like a nice thing to do. And I'm happy to have you here. But I'm not really into it that much myself. And she was very fine with that. And she said, oh, okay, that's fine. But I'd like to go. Would it be possible for you to take me? I said, yeah, of course it would. No trouble at all. Happy to, to help. I want to be a good host. So, oh, look, it's on Saturday morning and here it is. And she said, oh, great. And so we go along and we get to the venue. And as she's about to go, and she turns to me and she says, you sure you don't want to? And I'm like, nah. And she says, okay. And she walks in. And I watch her go. And I see some of the other people in the hall and I'm like, I'm here now anyway, I might as well. So I go in there too. And I'm greeted and I sit down, I do the career, and there's a whole lot of very enthusiastic people who look way too much like they're into it far too much for my liking, far too much of a group, far too happy, must be putting it on surely. Anyway, all these judgments are going on in my mind. And I sat down and I start my career. And I remember how nice it felt, and I actually started to remember what an amazing first seduction career I had. I said, yeah, that was an amazing first seduction career I had, wasn't it? Yeah, that was a great time of my life. Well, this feels nice too. Well, before long, I was in tears. And I went to another dimension. And I felt more peace than I'd felt for a long time. And then I had tears in my eyes again that I'd denied myself this incredible knowledge for so long. Why? Not because I didn't have a wonderful experience. I had an incredible experience, yet still that wasn't strong enough to stop me from the maze of my own mind, hoodwinking me back towards thinking that I was being cool by avoiding groups and avoiding my teacher, and actually all I was avoiding was bliss. So she was my angel too, along with my teacher. A few years later, she'd become a teacher, and I stayed with her and her husband in Sydney. And if it weren't for her, probably never would have reconnected. Who knows? If it wasn't for my teacher's constant encouragement, would not have reconnected. So many people have helped to get me back onto a path that I seemed to be desperate to lose sight of. So, and all the teaching I've done since, with the numerous people who show a similar lack of commitment that I did, I can't judge them. I was one of them. And the people who show immediate commitment and come to follow-up career, I'm just like, you're amazing. I didn't do that. And I have nothing but reverence for them. But it just shows that there is no one right path. And sometimes it's a long and winding path, and sometimes it's a straight and narrow one. and everything is imperfection. Because in reality, the path is a path from here to here. There is no gap between us and consciousness, because we are consciousness. So even that path itself is an illusion. So to judge one is short and one is long, and one is stupid and one is righteous, itself is an illusion. So I've learned not to judge my own meandering path, but simply to have a chuckle at it myself and all the events that have kept me on it. And I'm so grateful for all the angels that helped me.